The question that exists around healthcare and the idea that people don't have it or don't have access to it shouldn't be a question at all. The fact that Congress has access to lifetime healthcare is great, but that should extend beyond Congress to every person that lives in the country.
I think that either they should be on our system or we should be on their system. It's clearly a stacked deck against us.
Why do we treat one way and not the other? Especially when it's the people they serve as public servants. Why don't they get the same treatment?
I believe every citizen should have lifetime health care if Congress has it. Why not us? There's no reason not to.
And the reason that we don't is because they do. They're unconcerned with our particular needs because their needs are covered.
If you guys are the people who are in charge and you know what your needs are and you're human, how can it be any different from what we need?
It would increase the quality of life, not just in terms of not being sick physically, but emotionally. We would just feel so much more confident and just well in our lives.
To me, something like that should be one of the foundations of fairness to everyone, because let's say something like water, food. These are common things that everyone should have a right to, because we're all here to live our lives and we deserve as much resources as possible to live the most fruitful life as we can.
Going back to Richard Nixon, who changed the tenor of healthcare for where it was originally nonprofit to profit, that's all corporate. And the corporations are very well pleased that we don't have universal health care.
I guess I remember when my mom had her hysterectomy after she got ovarian cancer and was in the hospital for 11 days. And the bill was astronomical. I mean, it was just a shockingly high amount. And after going through the whole rigmarole and going through the healthcare system, and it took months and months and months. And then some paper pushers had to go through this whole process and back and forth and basically justify their jobs to get down to, a bill that was $11,000. So the whole thing is a complete mess to me and just incredibly corrupt.
I've certainly lived without healthcare for some time. I started my own business about 10 years ago and couldn't afford insurance, so I went without just to start the business. And it was not easy. It actually developed into some anxiety that still exists, some healthcare-based anxiety that still exists.
My wife had breast cancer, and the bills were enormous. She would never have lived as long as she did without the health care. And certainly I would have lost the house without the health care.
The situation that we have right now contributes to this great anxiety that we collectively feel about our lives. I personally feel it very, very strongly. I know a lot of other people who feel it in their lives, this constant fear and anxiety, whether you do have insurance through your workplace or not, which in my case, I am a freelancer. So I don't have insurance through a workplace, so I have to take care of that myself, which is very expensive and actually not affordable.
I've been on the city's provided healthcare insurance several times, and there was one time in particular I had a really bad bike accident and I busted my ankle open, and I had to go to urgent care, and my insurance had just come through like the week before. And all I could think about was like, oh my God, I have no idea how much this would have cost me. Can't imagine what people who get into accidents or get ill and don't have health care go through.
I'm an actor and I also work in tech, but when I've gone through periods with no jobs and been on unemployment, I have had no health care. I was snowboarding and I got a concussion and I had no health insurance when that happened. So I had to go to a urgent care, which wasn't the greatest health care, obviously. So yeah, it's a scary thing when you have no insurance.
My family has never had health care, so I definitely know the struggle of that and having to hold off on seeing a specialist or holding off on getting a surgery. And it's a right for everybody to have their medication, to see doctors. I think no one should go through this.
One of my daughters is diabetic, And I've been watching, since she's been diagnosed with type 1, the price of insulin rising every 6-8 months, basically, uncapped. That's unconscionable. Unconscionable. This is a medication that's needed by millions of Americans, not to mention worldwide.
I see it in other people as well. People who do have coverage through their workplace are scared to leave their job. Maybe they hate it. Maybe they need to move. They're scared to leave their job because they don't know what's going to happen.
There's a lot of other countries, in particular Scandinavia, where the people are taken care of. You know, what is it? 32 out of 33 of the top nations in the world have health care, and we can't figure out how to do it? Hey, the quickest way to figure out how to do it is take every member of Congress off of health care. They'll figure out how to do it real quick.
Wow. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and Nelson Mandela being proud of any of our senators. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously with the recent impeachment trial, I'm pretty impressed with Adam Schiff. I think that he has conducted himself with a lot of integrity, and I think has stayed true to the course of where we're at. God, I hate to say this, but Mitt Romney, you know? I never thought I would say that I agree with the guy, but thank God somebody actually had the courage to stand up and say what he believed was right.
That's probably an easy question. Going back for the last 40 years, Bernie Sanders has been doing the exact same thing, saying the exact same thing. He marched in the civil rights marches back in the 60s. I mean, he's only a few years older than me. He's been wanting health care for all. He's been, you know, he was there when we were marching against the Vietnam War. He was marching.
I would say definitely Bernie Sanders. You know, he's been sticking up for us since way before I was born. You know, he stood up for, like, civil rights. He's been fighting for universal health care. He's been fighting for economic rights, women's rights.
I would say they'd be proud of, one, Bernie Sanders, then to an extent also Elizabeth Warren, to another extent maybe even Ed Markey or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in their work that they've done with the Green New Deal.
It's a mind-boggling question. It would be hard to say. I think that on the more established end, I would say Bernie Sanders, just because his message has been consistent for so very long and his action has been consistent for so very long. I think AOC has sort of spoken without regard of consequence, which takes a great deal of courage.
Whew. To be honest, I don't think anybody, I think they would probably think we've failed, because there's a lot of skeletons in the closet for Congress, and there's not a lot of transparency. And I believe that, Gandhi, MLK, they were for the people.
Ooh, that really hurts, because right now I don't know how proud I am. I'm looking at us as being the Weimar Republic on the eve of turning into the Third Reich.
Oh, God. I don't know that I'm proud to be an American right now, honestly.
Is it fair to say not much right now? Just given the current paradigm of the situation.
I don't like nationalism.
I'm not necessarily proud that I'm an American.
You know, I travel a lot, and every time I've gone out of the country in the last couple of years, it's been embarrassing. Because you get the real story about how people feel about Americans. We're a joke. We are a complete joke.
I don't support the person who is running this country, and I don't support how sexist he is and racist he is.
We're not taught our own history. And as a result, we're taught revisionist history where the victors write the history and the losers are thrown into the trash heap. We wiped out all the natives. We still treat them like dirt. Slavery, I mean, for God's sake, slavery. And it's still, basically, we're still dealing with all the issues 150 years later because we've never resolved them.
I wouldn't say that I'm a proud American, because it wasn't my choice to be here. Sort of like it wasn't my choice to even be born. We kind of just like exist where we are, be it our socioeconomic status, our race, our location. These things were kind of just thrusted upon us, against our will. So I don't think it's fair for any one person to be proud of something they had no control over.
I'm a new American. I spent most of my life as a German citizen. I came to the United States as essentially a baby and grew up in Northern California. And what I'm proud of was the opportunity to become an American. I had to prove myself worthy of American citizenship. I wasn't just born here. There are background checks. They look at your tax returns. They do all these things to make sure you're worthy of being an American, which to me suggests that immigrants are more worthy of U.S. citizenship than people that are born here because they have to prove themselves first.
But I do like living in America. I do like being an American. Probably freedom of speech is a big one. And just the spirit of this kind of like go out and do it, go out and get it kind of spirit of America.
I'm grateful because I was born here and I have so many privileges afforded to me, and I don't take that for granted.
What makes me proud to be an American is the fact that we're just resilient. We see wrongs, and while we might not take those wrongs and correct them right in the moment, we can turn the page, we can change, we can adapt.
The only thing I feel proud about is the fact that I lived in California, now I live in New York, and I feel like that there are people who give a shit, who are progressive, who actually care about human beings and care about the planet.
One thing that I do like about being in America is our level of freedom compared to other places around the world. The level of freedom that we have here, and I think the resources that are available to us is a bit better than it is in other countries.
Proud of many things in this country, but it doesn't mean that I disregard or ignore the history of this country or the things that we shouldn't be so proud of or that we shouldn't be bragging so much about. So I think it's perfectly fine to be proud of being an American, but I think there tends to be a bit of arrogance in those that never had to prove themselves worthy of being an American. And then there's people like me who had to fight for it.
The ideal that we aspire to is where I'm proud of the nation. We set a high standard for ourselves in this nation that we've never, ever come anywhere close to. But the fact that we keep trying, or hopefully we keep trying, is what makes me proud of this country.